Hello my favorite book people, and welcome to my dedicated spoiler-free reading vlog for The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I decided kind of last minute that I wanted to do a dedicated reading vlog for this book. I felt like I had to document me reading this because I have a complicated history with Taylor Adams. I've loved one of his books and I've hated one of his books. So I thought reading another one of his would be an interesting experiment. I was able to snag a copy of it from my library. Hopefully I love it so that I can purchase my own copy, but for now we're playing it safe and just using the library copy. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you so much for clicking on it. We're just gonna get right into it. I've made it up to page 47 so far in this book, and what it's about, if you don't know, it's about this woman named Emma who is house sitting for someone at this beach house. What she enjoys doing in her free time is reading 99-cent ebooks. She reads this one that the neighbor recommends to her. It's called Murder Mountain. And so she reads it and she finds it to be the worst book she's ever read. So she gives it 1 star, writes this review, this 1-star review. She's like a little bit hesitant to post it because it's the only review for this book. She doesn't feel the need to hold back, so she just posts it anyway. And then the author of that book sees that review, comments on the review saying, you need to take this review down. You have no idea what this could do for me financially. Like, you're ruining my life, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna take it down. It's my opinion. And he comments again saying, you better take this down or else. And so she's just like, okay, weirdo, write a better book next time. Then she's staying at this house, and this is one of my favorite aspects of the story is the neighbor, that they can see each other from their windows and they both have telescopes because they live on the beach, so there's telescopes at beach houses usually. And they have their like Taylor Swift You Belong With Me moment, and they write on whiteboards like to each other, and they're playing hangman. It's just like it's a cute vibe, although it's a sketchy vibe because I'm not really sure how I feel about the neighbor. You don't really know much about him, but he's an older man and he just always lives at home. She doesn't know what he does for work, so she's been trying to figure that out. His name is Deke, but I'm getting like very suspicious vibes from everything that Taylor Adams is mentioning, so I feel like he's throwing a lot of red herrings out right off the bat. The writing is just fantastic. I think this is even better writing than No Exit was. So also Emma is staying at this house, finding out weird things about the house that make it feel a little bit haunted. The toilet will flush on its own sometimes. Some other things make it feel a little bit creepy. And so she's just staying there. She does have a dog with her. No, does she? Yeah, she does have a dog. I was trying to think if it was another book I was reading. Her dog's name is Laika, L-A-I-K-A, which is named after the first dog in space, which I was very intrigued by, so I googled that and looked that up a little bit more and read that whole story of Laika the dog, and it's actually really sad because it was basically like a suicide mission for this stray dog. There's also been a Twilight reference in here, which is kind of funny, wasn't expecting. But yeah, very creepy vibes so far in just under the first 50 pages. So I am fascinated with this already. I'm very, very intrigued. Cannot wait to keep reading. I wanted to come and give you the first update before I went any further, but I don't know when I'll update next because I feel like I'm just gonna want to binge this whole thing. So I'm gonna try to hold myself back so that I can check in every once in a while for updates, since this is the only book I'm reading for this video. But yeah, eating it up, like, it's really good. It's really good. I am on page 157 now, and I want to annotate this book so bad, but obviously I can't because it is a library copy. So how I am doing that, like how I'm still managing to annotate while reading, is just putting sticky notes on the page and writing my thoughts and everything. So in this last section I read, since my last update, I have quite a few little notes here that I wanted to go over and like make sure I mentioned, because my memory is not the best, so sometimes I forget to even say a lot of things. I promise I'm absolutely loving this book. I'm just like so tired that I don't feel like I'm able to portray that well right now in this moment because I'm just exhausted. And I just finished reading another book that I wasn't a huge fan of, so I'm like kind of coming off of that. I'm loving this book, okay? I can't remember the last thing I said in my last update. We do get to see a lot from the author's perspective. I think it is pretty interesting when you know who the killer is or the psychopath, and he really is a psychopath because one, he is very like sexist and misogynistic, saying how like females generally don't like action or horror. He's discrediting Emma's review basically by saying like, you don't even know what you're talking about, everything you're saying is invalid. And he's calling her out, saying some women always fancy themselves experts on whether a horror book is realistic or unrealistic. Like, you personally know how a .223 caliber Colt AR-15 rifle works. Can you load and fire one, or how to tie a tourniquet, blah 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 blah, basically throwing all this back in her face. You're just a woman, you don't know anything about this stuff. So he's definitely an asshole. Another thing that totally solidifies the fact that he is a psychopath, he mentions eating 6 Wendy's Junior Bacon cheeseburgers at one time. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Wendy's, I like cheeseburgers, but 6 of them, even though they're the junior ones, that's still like disgusting. Like, at least like get some variety. Like, don't just eat 6 of the same thing. That's kind of gross. He also wears a fedora. He vapes, and his flavor of vape juice is synthetic butter vape juice. So that's a little bit about him. But I love the way Taylor Adams is writing these characters. His writing in general is so far superior in this book than to his other 2 books of his that I've read, which is insane to say about No Exit. I do at this point think it might top that book, which is insane to say, but I really do think it will go above No Exit, which I didn't think was possible, because then he wrote No Exit. I know he has other books other than just these 3 that I've read, which I'll probably read his backlist at some point. No Exit he wrote in 2017, and then Hairpin Bridge was after that in like 2021, I think, and now this one 2023. I don't really know what he was trying to accomplish with Hairpin Bridge, if he was trying to go a different route, but he's definitely reverted back to more No Exit style of thriller with The Last Word, with it being like a cat and mouse thriller, which I love. I love that in my movies too, in thriller movies, but it's so fun to read, and I love his use of vocab in this book as well. I'm learning a ton of new words, which I think is also a plus to reading. Like, it's such a good resource. Learn while you're reading, even though it's thriller, even though it's fiction, horror made for entertainment, you know? The other thing, it does feel more, it could be horror thriller, which I guess, like, I don't really know the exact definition. You could kind of go either way, but it's thriller and horror. Like, it's pretty scary because it's like really like real life kind of stuff. I'm loving it though, absolutely loving it. Let's see. I love the main character, Emma. She is relatable in parts and reminds me a lot of myself with her social anxiety. Always has to hype herself up to say something. So she doesn't have a lot of human interaction, human communication while she's at this beach house, because she just has her dog and then the neighbor. So when she's talking to her neighbor, she gets kind of caught up in her own mind and like her thoughts. So when the neighbor asks her something, she takes forever to respond. She kind of stalls out and like has to remind herself, like, say something, say something, say something, which is so relatable, because sometimes I don't have anything to say, or I don't want to say anything, or I'm just kind of taking it all in still, and I have a slower process with speaking. Sorry about that interruption. The maintenance guy had to come. I was literally waiting for him all morning, and I knew that was going to happen as soon as I started filming, that he would come in, but it's fine. So he's taking care of stuff. But what was I saying? Emma being relatable. I also love that she has a voice for her dog. We also have a voice for our dog, and I think anyone who like is a dog person or a animal lover, you'll have a voice for your pet. So I think that's fun that that's included. So the dog is like her own character as well. I think Emma is like so far such a well-rounded character. I love how Taylor Adams is writing her. I think it's just perfection. So I'm only 157 pages in. It's still so early on. I don't know what else is going to happen. So I'm really intrigued to keep going because I really don't know what else is going to be thrown at me, because it doesn't feel like it's just going to be a game of cat and mouse. Like there's going to be something else that happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. I also wanted to mention that there's similarities in this book to another book that I just recently read called The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, because in that one you also already know the killer and you get the killer's point of view, and it's centered around other books and stories within this book. I'll probably do like 1 or 2 more check-ins before the end. Yeah, so I'm just about halfway. You also learn about Emma. She had a husband named Sean. You don't really know where he is or what happened to him. She's having this conversation with him in her head. You're wondering more about Emma as a person and what has brought her to where she is today and how that is affecting her experience with this situation. All right, I can't figure out how to put my steering wheel down, so it's gonna have to stay there. I finished The Last Word and I'm in the library parking lot right now to go return it, along with a couple other of my library books. I, first of all, am going to remember a lot from this book. A lot of it was very descriptive. I'll never look at a FedEx truck the same way ever again. And it's just kind of like one of those moments, like, have you guys seen those TikToks? Or there's at least one TikTok out there, or you guys can relate to this. A lot of these moments definitely happened to me when I was a kid, but you are doing something so regular, so normal, so mundane, and you think to yourself, I'm going to remember this moment forever. And like the TikTok is like this guy, he was eating a string cheese, said to himself that I'm gonna remember this moment for the rest of my life. And then like 10 years later, he does still actively remember that memory. I have so many of those moments, but that's kind of how I felt with the scenes from this book. I feel like I'm actively going to visually remember them. I think that is important to note, that that's what the writing did for me. So my general thoughts and feelings on this though are still a little bit complicated, because I definitely did not hate this book. I do think I really loved it. But is it a 5-star thriller? When I finished the book, I was like, yeah, 5 stars. But I had to hold myself back and think about it for a little bit longer and like really kind of figure out if I thought it was going to be 5 stars or not. So I was just at work like all day. I finished it right before I went into work. So I was like, I'll think about it. I'll think on it all day. Could it be better? Did I want more? How is it compared to No Exit? That's a huge thing that I don't know if it's like good or bad that I'm comparing it so much to that, but it's the same author, so I feel like I should be. The thrill aspect, the suspense of this book is like a 9 out of 10. Like, it's pretty good. Sorry, the lighting is whack. I just wonder if I'm like desensitized to a lot of things that happen in thrillers now, because I think it's very important to note, No Exit was like the first real intense thriller that I read. I've read a lot more since. So with that being one of the first ones that I ever read, I think that definitely impacted my reading experience. Now, as I'm growing as a reader, as I'm growing as a thriller reader, I want to give 5 stars to the best thrillers, in my opinion, obviously, right? Knowing how my reading experience was impacted with No Exit, how does that then translate to this? Because this isn't the first real intense thriller that I've read, but I still loved it. But is it 5 stars? I'm like so torn. I don't know what I want to rate it. I think I have to give it 5 stars because of just like the feelings that it gave me when I was reading it. The main points I want in a thriller: is it a fun time? Yes, it was a fun time. Was it keeping me on my toes? Absolutely. This is a wild ride. This is a roller coaster of a book. People who didn't love this book, their review is like, it was almost too twisty. It got too out of hand, so it kind of like drug out the plot, messed with the pacing a little bit, and it got boring and stuff like that, which I can see. But I personally did not feel that way at all when I was reading it. I didn't really have a lot of visceral reactions, and I think that's what the main hang up is for me. Like, I wish I had more visceral reactions, because in No Exit I did. So again, it's like back and forth with that kind of thing, with me kind of being desensitized to a lot of thriller tropes now. But I still loved it nonetheless. I can't really say anything bad about it. So I think that is the definition of a 5-star. So I am gonna give it 5 stars. I like that I'm questioning a little bit more. I like that I'm like kind of refraining from just throwing 5 stars out there, especially when it comes to thrillers. So I wanted to give myself the time to think on it. And I'm glad I did, because I still truly feel like it is a 5-star thriller and I 100% recommend it. I just realized I gotta take all my sticky notes out of here before I return it. But honestly, yeah, it was great. I hope that Taylor Adams stays on this track with his new books. I hope he doesn't try and pull another hairpin bridge moment, because honestly, we don't need any of that. I do want to say there are trigger warnings for suicide and like infertilities. Definitely like body horror. Like there's some stuff in this book. If you love like slasher, like gory stuff, this isn't like super crazy, but it's got some of that. Can't wait to see what Taylor Adams writes next. And I will be getting into his backlist probably at some point, like I said before. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this spoiler-free, hopefully I didn't really spoil anything. I don't think I did. But if I said too much, editing Sydney will cut it out for your sake. But I had a super fun time doing a dedicated vlog for this. I had a lot more to say about just this one book than I anticipated. I thought maybe this video would be like too short because it's just one book I'm talking about, but I was really passionate about this book and this author specifically, so I really wanted to give it its own vlog. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you did. Let me know if there's other books you guys would like to see me do a dedicated vlog for. I kind of like that vibe, just talk about one book and have it like be a highlight vlog for that book. So let me know if there's any other books you'd like me to do that for in the comments down below. Make sure to follow my bookstagram if you're not already, at Sydney Page Books. I am being more active on there after taking a little bit of a break from that too. So definitely give that a follow. I'm also on Lemon 8, Pango Books, all that kind of stuff. It's all linked down below. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!